On a lonely hill overlooking Louisville, Kentucky, a tuberculosis epidemic gave birth to a monument of desperation, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Built in 1910 to isolate the sick, its grand facade of brick and stone concealed a grimmer reality inside. The White Plague killed without mercy. Lungs filled, breath failed, and families crumbled. Waverly was their last stop. Doctors and nurses, overwhelmed by the dying, resorted to experimental treatments, rib removals, collapsed lungs, open-air, freezing therapies. Many patients never walked out. Legend says over 60,000 souls died here, though records officially state far fewer. But the number hardly matters when every hallway still seems to breathe with whispers. Locals began to talk, of screams echoing past the hills at night, of children's laughter where no children played, of strange lights seen in the sealed upper wards. Waverly was not a place of healing. It was a house of slow, suffocating death. Tuberculosis didn't spare the young. Inside Waverly's sunny-looking children's wing, laughter tried to battle with death, but the disease always won. Toys lined the shelves. Painted walls bore cartoon murals. But each child knew they'd been brought there to die. The nurses tried to keep spirits high. Birthday parties, Christmas trees, even in July. But little hands grew cold. Some children passed away holding a stuffed bear, others during play therapy. One nurse, Margaret, reportedly rocked dead children to sleep until the orderlies could take them away. Over the years, staff reported music boxes playing by themselves, balls rolling out of locked closets, and most famously, Room 502, once part of the pediatric section, became cursed. No one knows why, but children refused to enter it. One nurse hung herself there in 1928. Another jumped to her death in 1932. Visitors today report hearing giggles, toys moving, and the voice of a child named Timmy asking to play. He died in 1926. People leave balls for him. Some are seen moving on their own. At night, the children's ward doesn't feel empty. It feels watched. Waverly Hills had a secret. Beneath its sprawling brick body ran a 500-foot tunnel through the hillside, designed originally for transporting supplies. But during the height of the epidemic, the body chute became a macabre conveyor belt of death. Patients died so frequently the staff feared it would drive the living to madness. So, they began to secretly lower the bodies through the tunnel on gurneys, out of sight. The dead slid silently down the hill into waiting hearses. An average of 3 dozen corpses were removed daily during peak months. The tunnel was cold, damp, and echoed with the metallic clatter of wheels. After Waverly closed, urban explorers and ghost hunters began sneaking in. They returned with stories of shadowy figures pacing up the chute and disembodied screams echoing through the stone. One visitor claimed they were pulled down the tunnel by an unseen force, only released when they began reciting a prayer. Another described hands brushing against their back, though they were alone. The body chute didn't just carry corpses. It absorbed despair, and perhaps it never let go. Room 502 is the most infamous room in Waverly Hills. 2 suicides occurred here within 4 years, both nurses. The first, a 29-year-old woman, was found hanging from a light fixture in 1928. Her body was discovered by another nurse, who reportedly fled the room screaming. The second jumped from the window in 1932, pregnant and unmarried. Unforgivable at the time. Theories abound. Some say the room is cursed. Others whisper of a doctor's abuse, cover-ups, or even a pact. Regardless, the room's reputation has outlived both victims. Visitors say they feel overwhelming sadness, nausea, and dread the moment they step inside. Others report seeing a woman in white pacing the hallway or peering through the window. Some claim she whispers for help. A few hear babies crying, though no infants were ever housed there. One paranormal investigator collapsed while filming. Her footage captured a clear voice saying, "Don't leave me here." Room 502 is locked now. But locks don't stop ghosts. There is something in Waverly Hills that even the ghosts seem to avoid. A dark entity known as the Shadow Man, tall, featureless, and always in motion. He haunts the fifth floor and the tunnels. Witnesses describe a humanoid figure made entirely of shadow, standing at unnatural angles, disappearing when approached. The shadow man doesn't speak. He doesn't moan. He watches. Some say he follows. A few have fled after seeing him crawl on the ceiling or emerge from walls. One night, Gar quit after recording a CCTV loop that showed the entity standing behind him for 5 hours. He never saw it in real time. Legends suggest he is not a patient or staff, but something older, a malevolence attracted by decades of suffering. Paranormal researchers believe he feeds off fear. Cameras glitch around him. Batteries drain. People collapse with migraines. Those who've been touched by him say they feel a deep cold, not of temperature, but of soul. He's not the ghost of Waverly Hills. He's the reason the ghosts can't rest. In the basement lies a small, windowless room once used as a temporary morgue. Bodies too decomposed or awaiting autopsy were stored here in cold drawers. But the stench never left. Neither, some say, did the dead. Nicknamed the body room, it became a feared place among the staff. Orderlies refused to enter alone. One nurse claimed she saw a drawer slam shut on its own. Another swore a body sat upright and whispered her name. The room was eventually bricked off. Decades later, vandals broke it open. What they found inside defied explanation. The walls were lined with deep scratches from the inside. One drawer was welded shut. A single child-sized shoe sat on the counter, surrounded by dark stains. No records indicated who left it or why. Ghost hunters report cold spots, so intense their breath fogs in summer. Cameras go black near the entrance. One woman described being shoved hard from behind, only to find no one there. She had hand-shaped bruises for days. The body room may have held the dead, but something inside never wanted to be put down. The main stairwell of Waverly is massive, spiraling between floors like a spine. Once used for emergency evacuations, now it echoes with something else, screaming. Not mechanical creaks or wind, but actual human-like screams. Staff began hearing them before Waverly closed. Late at night, one nurse heard a child wail at the top of the steps. She ran upward, but found no one. Another time, a janitor heard whispers in Latin, then screams. He quit the next day. When paranormal teams tried recording EVP's electronic voice phenomena on the stairs, they captured chilling audio. I fell, help me, and most disturbingly, push him. In 1949, a male patient was found dead at the stairwell's base. It was ruled a fall, but his neck had defensive wounds. A few suspect he was pushed. Since then, visitors describe being followed on the stairs. Some even feel hands on their back as they descend. Waverly stairs weren't just for escape. They may have been the site of secret deaths. And some of the dead still take the stairs. Waverly Hills shut down in 1961 after a cure for tuberculosis was widely distributed. The building sat empty for years, then reopened as a geriatric hospital. That lasted until 1982, when reports of abuse, neglect, and unexplained deaths led to a final closure. But the silence after wasn't peaceful. Locals reported lights turning on in empty windows, chanting, flickering shadows. Stray dogs went in and never came out. Teenagers dared each other to break in. Some returned, shaken. Others wouldn't speak about what they saw. One group found a room filled with rusted wheelchairs, all facing the same corner. One girl swore a chair moved on its own. Later, she was hospitalized with night terrors. She never entered a hospital again. The silence at Waverly is not absence of sound. It's an active presence, like something holding its breath, waiting for the living to come close. In the 2000s, paranormal investigators flocked to Waverly Hills. It had become a legend, one of the most haunted places in the world. TV crews, YouTubers, and skeptics all came armed with night vision and bravado. Most left believers. Thermal cameras caught figures in doorways where no one stood. Balls rolled toward people on command. Full-body apparitions were filmed in real time. One woman fainted after being touched by unseen hands. Another ran screaming from the death tunnel, convinced she was followed by a growling voice. Staff report rooms locking from the inside, guests thrown downstairs. Even skeptics have gone silent after their visits. In one well-documented case, a paranormal team left behind a sealed camera in room 502 overnight. The next morning, they reviewed the footage. For 8 hours, nothing. Then, at 3:19 a.m., the sound of a woman weeping. The lens fogged. A pale hand appeared on the edge of the frame. The tape ended with a single, whispered word, "Stay." Something remains in Waverly, and it doesn't want to be alone. Today, Waverly Hills stands partially restored. Its exterior gleams, and guided ghost tours run nightly. But something deeper than bricks holds the building together: memory, pain, and unfinished endings. Visitors report time distortions. Watches stop. Phones freeze. People feel pulled toward rooms they didn't mean to enter. Some cry for no reason. Others forget entire sections of the tour. And then there are the disappearances, temporary but terrifying. A father vanished for 18 minutes during a tour. He was found later in the children's wing, rocking in a chair, mumbling. She said, "Don't leave her." No one knew who she was. Staff quietly admit that every so often, someone sees a new ghost. Not a historical one, a recent one, as if the sanatorium is still adding names to its list. Maybe Waverly Hills never stopped being a hospital, not for the body, but for the restless dead, a place of echoes and endings, a liminal space between life and something colder. And for some, it becomes home, forever.